Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters. If you're watching this video and it's Salah time, please pause it and go pray and come back when you're done. Please check out the description section of this video to support the channel. As you will most likely be aware by now, Israel has escalated their aggression against Lebanon over the last week. First by committing the war crime of planting explosives into pagers and walkie-talkies and shipping them to Lebanon, which Israel then detonated at random in public places like grocery stores and hospitals, harming and eliminating civilians. Israel would have you believe they are responding to Lebanon with their usual self-defense propaganda. However, since October 8th, 2023, Israel has been the main aggressor between the two nations. In fact, stats from a US-funded monitoring group show that Israel have carried out 82% of the attacks between the two nations over the last year. Israel's oppression of Lebanon is nothing new. They first started attacking, invading and occupying Lebanon in 1978, and that has continued until the present day. Also, Lebanon's condition to end this current phase of the conflict from October 8th was simply for Israel to stop ethnically cleansing Palestine, and of course Israel refuses to do so. At first, Israel framed their extremist communication device attack as a targeted precision military operation, which they said would limit civilian casualties, despite the opposite happening in reality due to the devices being detonated in public places around non-combatants. And over the last few days, Israel have abandoned this narrative and are now airstriking Beirut in the same way they did to Gaza over the last year, even recycling the same propaganda and excuses they used to justify their genocide in Palestine. More about this later in the video. Let's briefly go back to Israel's war crimes in Lebanon involving communication devices. Many prominent Western government officials and public figures have bizarrely celebrated this act of extremism, labeling it as military genius. One of these sick individuals is Zionist Islamophobe dinosaur Bill Maher, who is well known for making countless anti-Muslim statements. However, Muslim comedian Bassem Youssef took exception to this and proceeded to cook Bill Maher for celebrating innocent Lebanese civilians being harmed. Let's take a look.
Did you see the cool stunt Israel did?
Guns do not kill people. Pagers kill people.
Oh my God,
And the way Israel did it's pretty amazing, you know.
Yes.
Do not fuck with Israel, man. They took the fight from their river to their pants. They blew up a lot of...
Like you, Bill.
I mean, look, this happens too frequently. I'm sorry.
It's so funny how you celebrate the death of civilians, women, children that were near those pagers in markets, in streets, in hospitals. But that's okay. I mean, what can Israel do? It's crazy how the American media hailed this as a surgical attack, precision targeting. Like they applauded for months how Israel is doing everything they can to avoid killing civilians. But they end up killing tens of thousands of them anyways. But when we tell them that women and children also die, they say, well, collateral damage. Too bad. 50,000 in Gaza. Collateral damage. Hospitals, schools, residential buildings. They are embedded in the population. They are hiding in your pants, so Israel has the right to blow up your Bill Maher looking. This is the US State Department envoy to combat anti-Semitism, Deborah Lipstadt.
After October 7th, there was a feeling around the world that Israel is weaker.
You want a beeper? You want a bomb in your pants to blow up your Bill Maher looking? Because this is how we fight anti-Semitism. We blow everyone who dares to act. So good job, Israel. You just told the world no one is safe and no one will hold you accountable. Our politicians are bought by you and our comedians are scared to discuss what you do. They even can't joke about it. They might mention Israel once or twice in a passing joke or some half-assed 5-minute segment to save face, but it's obvious that the stuff that matters is off limits. Or if they talk about it, they're being dicks about it, like Bill Maher.
Apart from being a terrible entertainer, Bill Maher is a despicable human being who makes jokes at the expense of other human beings being injured and eliminated. As Brother Bassem said in the clip, the horrific excuse of collateral damage to brush over the elimination of innocent civilians is disgustingly prejudicial and inhumane. Notice how it's only collateral damage in applaudable military precision tactics when Arabs are being targeted. But if Arabs were to do the same thing, it would be labelled extremism. As you saw from the clip, government officials were making jokes about Israel's war crime of detonating communication devices in Lebanon, which resulted in the loss of civilian life. The blatant racism in these ignorant narratives is not only infuriating, it also reveals the level of discrimination that has existed for centuries, and that attitudes have not changed. They were simply covered up because it served a purpose at a particular time. And despite the censorship that Bassem Youssef spoke about that is in place to cover Israel's tracks and to reframe the repeated atrocities they commit as heroic, their insane conduct is becoming more and more difficult to defend, even by their allies. Here's a clip of a former director of the CIA calling Israel's pager attack an act of extremism.
The ability to be able to place an explosive in technology that is very prevalent these days, and turn it into a war of terror, really, a war of terror. This is something new.
Is it terrorism?
I don't think there's any question that it's a form of terrorism.
Even Brother Bassem himself is receiving threats for speaking up about this, with psychotic Zionists offering to mail him a pager. And now that Israel has escalated matters further by carpet bombing densely populated neighbourhoods in Beirut and Greater Lebanon, it looks like we're going to see a repeat of what happened in Gaza over the last year. And despite all of this, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu was invited to the US and platformed by the UN to give a speech, where he stated that there are no civilian areas in Lebanon to justify hospitals, schools and homes as being legitimate targets for Israel in Beirut.
They fire these rockets and missiles not from military sites, not from that. They do that too. But they fire those rockets and missiles after they place them in schools, in hospitals, in apartment buildings, and in the private homes of the citizens of Lebanon. They endanger their own people. They put a missile in every kitchen, a rocket in every garage.
You heard Netanyahu say there is a missile in every kitchen and a rocket in every garage in Lebanon to justify the Israeli airstrikes on housing blocks in Beirut that just happened, using the same human shield narrative he used to do the exact same thing in Gaza. Netanyahu stood at the UN declaring his war crimes with total impunity, with almost every diplomat in attendance walking out when he took the stage. This war criminal actually approved strikes on Beirut whilst in New York at the UN conference, which is a perfect illustration of number one, America's hand in Israeli war crimes, and number two, the UN's complete failure to stop Israeli extremism. Here's another clip of Bassem Youssef speaking about the unlimited access to technology and influence over social media Israel has to keep covering up and committing war crimes, and how people like Elon Musk are aiding this Zionist supremacy.
Israel, after its surgical operation, went on and surgically bombed south of Lebanon, killing over 600 people. That's just at the time of recording the video. Why stop at South Lebanon? Why even stop at Lebanon?
Eventually, our borders will extend from Lebanon to the Great Desert, which is Saudi Arabia, and then from the Mediterranean to the Euphrates. I believe we're going to take Mecca, Medina, and Mount Sinai, purify those places.
Yes. We all need to be purified by Israel. The same way they sabotage those Motorola pagers, they can do it to your Tesla, your SpaceLink router. I don't think Elon Musk will mind. He might be the richest man in the world, but he is the richest slave in history. And why stop there? Google, Amazon, Microsoft, Apple, they all love Israel. They have headquarters there, they fund their army, and they use their technological geniuses to create more effective weapons to kill Arabs. Why even bother with diplomacy? Remember when they were up in arms talking about Russian interference, Chinese interference in our elections? They are good discussing the usual stupid gaffes of Kamala, Biden, Trump, but they will not talk about Israel. They won't talk about how they stole and control our elections, our government, and our country. Good job, Israel and Mossad. Please go ahead, destroy the world, because no one is safe until Israel is safe. And Israel is only safe when everybody dies.
The brothers spoke about Israel's latest attack in Lebanon and showed footage of Israeli officials talking about expanding across the Middle East with ambitions to take over Islamic holy lands. This is one of many examples of Zionist supremacy and extremism. Hence, Israel's influence over the American political sphere should be illegal. A foreign nation with ambitions to potentially cause conflict all over the Middle East should not have any control over another country, especially not the United States, who are one of the most powerful countries in the world. But it explains why the US just sent another $8.7 billion to Israel in the last 48 hours for them to continue their reign of terror. Brother Bassem quite rightly also called Elon Musk out for simping for Zionists by labelling him the richest slave in the world. And it is well known that Elon is now a fully fledged Israeli lapdog and Zionist doormat. The man is a loose cannon. Elon is not new to being shunned for his warped political views. He was recently banned by the UK government from attending a financial summit due to his disgraceful tweets that further incited the recent riots in the UK. Many people have linked this incitement to Israel also as yet another distraction tactic to take the attention away from their war crimes. Let's take a step back and zoom out to process all of this and try to come up with some sort of a solution. In reality, all we can do as Muslims and even non-Muslims with empathy towards their fellow human beings is pray and raise awareness. Sadly, it seems like we're at the end of times, and with no one stepping in to intercede, it is very likely that nothing will stop Israel from achieving their evil objectives unless Muslim nations put up a united front and oppose Israel healed together. Thank you for watching. Make sure to join my free Telegram group via the link in the description, where we as Muslims can speak freely and without censorship about issues like this. And remember to like, subscribe and become a channel member for access to exclusive content. Until next time, inshallah, Jazakallah khair.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allah.